enjoy the festivities, the activities, and learn about the essence. It's all about Christ in the mix. Remember to ensure that we give that sense of information and education to our children beyond just the gifts that will come.
Yes, certainly. I mean, and as sometimes some years we get the feeling that as we getting down into these weeks leading up to the Christmas, like, oh no, we're not feeling the Christmas. I don't know about anybody else, but I am definitely feeling. I saw Rotary out on Saturday,
Yes.
and I was really excited to see them be, and with a donation drive and so on. And we need to remember that there's actually quite a lot of people within our society that are not doing so well, and we need to be able to just try to help wherever we can help. So whenever we see these things happening, these drives, let's all get in on it and see how much that we can assist, because we need to help those that really don't have much this time
And I
around.
think these NGOs make it so convenient now to be able to give back. They are
Certainly.
meeting you where you are at. You're coming out of the grocery. In fact, you're heading in. You know that they're set up on the outside. Pick up an item or two, pick up a bag of something
Yes.
to leave there. You're going to be helping some family in need. What may appear to be small and insignificant to you, because I've been involved in Rotary and other voluntary organizations for a long time. And one of the misconceptions that we have is I think that what I have to give is too small or is not as valuable. But you may be amazed to know something that no longer holds that kind of significance to you is still very, very significant indeed out there to a family in need. So let's really take that time out in the mix to ensure that we not only have a cheerful Christmas season for ourselves, but also the Lord has blessed us. If you have a bit more than you may need, take the opportunity to give back, as small as it may be.
Now, there's a lot of more stuff happening within our space. And I know, Julian, I don't know if you've heard about just the controversy this weekend with Mr. Iowa George
Oh,
and
yes.
that anthem. What's your take on that?
Well, well, well. I've got to pause there for a pause. Well, well, well. It's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the outcome and the scenarios
Yes.
will be, because I recall vividly, particularly the office of the president in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago really being a defender, so to speak, of the national anthems, national emblem, and so on. And we recall the last time we would have heard some statements, very firm statements being made, was at 2019 or so, coming out at when the anthem would have been used. Some modifications happening there in terms of its delivery within Carrie Festa at that time. So I find it quite interesting that we would use the whole anthem, not just a piece, not just a snippet, but the whole anthem. And I question whether it is the work of law enforcement will now become more challenging, because I don't know that you revelers, Juve morning, revelers throughout the season, revelers in a fete or an event will stand at attention.
I don't think so.
Even if he says
Yes.
stand at attention. There are many
Yeah.
things you follow that I would say, but I am not sure that you may be able to hold it together to stand at attention, for an entire period of that song before you start to rave and get into the festivities. And the challenges are, in those circumstances, will even the masqueraders and persons enjoying the festivities, will we also be breaking the law in those circumstances? But it's really left to be seen. But so far we've heard a number of voices coming out, certainly with strong objection to the use of the national anthem in that way. I don't like to feel as though I love my carnival events and the whole lead up and the soca and the season. But I don't like to feel as though I'm balancing between whether I'm breaking the law, I'm doing something wrong. I just want to have a good time.
Well, I mean, the anthem is used. I mean, it's something that's sacred to us. It's a symbol of our patriotism and that sort of thing. So, included, I mean, there's lots of ways for us to express who we are as a people, our culture, our love, our togetherness, uniqueness, everything, without including the anthem in certain things. So, it's an interesting discussion. It also gives rise to that whole conversation about what we do about being patriots in this country. How do we respect the things that that symbolizes who we are? And of course, the anthem being one of them. I know some years ago when there were some modifications done to the coat of arms, there was also some concern raised And maybe, we should leave some of those things alone. There's so many ways that we can express who we are as a people, especially in soca and so on, that maybe we should leave just a little hands off on leave certain things sacred.
Indeed, indeed. Again, one of the interesting developments, we're also seeing the happenings out there as it relates to, crime. And criminal activities. One of our institutions here in Tobago, the Works Credit Union. Again, criminals are taking advantage in this circumstance. And from what we understand, the information is, this person would have been dressed in a particular manner, almost giving the impression of a citizen or an elderly citizen in need. And then to recognize, young, strong, and able, ready to rob the credit union. And we got to continue to ask ourselves, what is happening here? What is happening here? And this is something, folks, I dare say, we got to have a kind of collective response to that we are indeed firmly against, and then a law enforcement coming in to help to enforce that even further, because it's quite unfortunate that we still in that circumstance where some believe exclusively they come from Trinidad. No, that's
It's our own
it's
people,
it's in some
unfortunately.
instances it's our own persons right here, and we got to get to that point where we are prepared to hold you accountable, whether you have come from outside to cause us distress, or in fact you are right here causing us distress. And if you're right here, we had to deal with you a little more than the norm, all within the ambits of the law. But I'm just saying, we got to deal with you a little bit more than normal in this circumstance. But certainly that's something we want to send our very clear objections to. Totally unacceptable. And it just says you got to be even more vigilant in this season, and that's even individuals as we go about our day to day, as well as those business entities and so on, whether small, major business, etc. Got to modify your routine, your security, and so on. Got to be a little more vigilant in the mix, because it's not the first time we're hearing about this tapping in and seeing, as a source to get into certain financial institutions. Certainly very uncomfortable. I'm just thinking, imagine you are there sitting to conduct a transaction and you get caught in the midst of this because you choose to go on that day. Correct, because you choose to go on that day.
Yeah. And then, we also had a situation. I saw somebody reported of a person being robbed, going to sell a cell phone or something like that. And, they were held at gunpoint and the money was taken. And, so we got to be very careful right now in terms of, I know a lot of people are trying to make a little extra money as well, whether you're selling certain things to, get a little extra cash for the Christmas season, but you have to be vigilant and you have to know, where you're meeting people to make certain exchanges and so on.
Yeah, indeed. So it's just, folks, that reminder that we continue to give you. We are in that season where activities are heightened, not only in the festivities and celebrations, but yes, activities are also heightened from the standpoint of the not so good and the negative elements out there. So we got to be very conscious. We got to be very aware. You in and around a space, whether it's within Scarborough, Crown Point, wheresoever you may be, you observe something, say something. Let's get the information out there. Say something. We got to see that critical responsibility. Don't only wait until it gets to you and you are affected. But a week ago, I really observed a fella there and some other neighbor got distressed. Say something. Raise your alert, raise your concerns in terms of going out there. So again, we want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. Those of you connecting with us online, I see in the mix we got Julia Brong, Lois Beckles, Renrick Jove, Selma Lashley, Marilyn David out there, Anne-Marie Arthur, Pearl Murray Beard, faithful supporter indeed, Brenda Campbell, Andre Edwards, and the list goes on and on. And we want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you. Lisa James, our #1 supporter from day one out there in the mix. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you and to invite you to continue to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat. Oh, this is so stylish and love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive Collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
Light up the Christmas with the best fiber. Surfboard channels switch to Amplia. Thousands in prizes, plenty smart TVs. 1 year free service and free groceries. We surfing with Amplia. We winning with Amplia. We binging with Amplia. We winning with Amplia. Sign up now for 50% off plus a chance to win over $100,000 in prizes. Call 800-4663.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch Number 1, the building formerly occupied by Coastal. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at Number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, Building 1 and 2.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:26 a.m. This morning on this Monday morning. I'm Julian Skeet, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. And just before we head on into our first interview, we have an anniversary shout out, very special indeed. This is one of the, I would like to say, Team Anthony going out there. So it's happy anniversary to the Anthonys, and that's Dyke and Shiri's Anthony. And very interesting at that, from as early as the startup of Tobago Updates from way back then. Certainly giving that support, dropping messages via our social media, Facebook, commendations indeed, and lending that support out there. So we want to say thank you. And more than that, we're taking the time out to wish you a happy, happy anniversary going out to Cherise and Dyke Anthony out there.
All right, and now we're getting into our first guest for this morning, and we are being joined by a very familiar face, and that is none other than Mr. Luke James Trim, who is now a CARICOM ambassador. Good morning and welcome to you, Luke.
Good morning.
Good morning, Candice. Good morning, Mr. Skeets. Good morning, Tobago. It feels good to Holly. I miss you all, and I'm really excited to be on air this morning.
He's on the other side
Yes.
of the table now, sitting as interviewee. And in fact, for those of you, if you didn't know at all, you might have been under a rock. You certainly had, Luke has been one of our youth hosts here on the Tobago Updates morning show, continuing to do great things. So indeed,
Along with being a reporter, don't forget that part.
also being a reporter. Candace won't miss that moment. But certainly we are indeed proud that you continue to excel. And we want to start this morning very much by talking about this most recent achievement. And we would have seen you've also been in the Tobago space recently doing a courtesy call. Tell us a little bit about, the CARICOM Youth Ambassador. What exactly is that for the benefit of those persons listening in or tuned in that are not as familiar?
Okay, sure. So the CARICOM Youth Ambassador, the program is a program that focuses on advocacy and getting youth, especially the youth in the island that you were selected from, to educate them about CARICOM issues, and the opportunities that they can benefit through CARICOM. Now, sometimes when we tell a young person that, okay, I'm a CARICOM ambassador, like, what is that? So then we'll switch it and tell them, think about diplomacy, think about the UN, think about speaking on issues such as HIV and AIDS and climate change, and that is what the program is all about, focusing on the regional integration of the youth from the CARICOM states.
All right. And it's important to mention here, tell us in terms of CARICOM Youth Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago. There are two of you, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So, the one from Trinidad, that's my dear friend, that's Miss Samantha Rampasad. She's the ambassador representing in Trinidad. I also have my alternate, that's Miss Jessica Forbes. That's another person who is no stranger to the Tobago youth space. So I'm really excited to have Samantha as my ambassador and Jessica as my alternates, because they are people that I'm familiar with. They are people that I vibe with really well. So there's no tension. We can really come together and issue out our ideas, and it's a really cohesive relationship.
So, Luke, can you tell us a little bit about what has your experience been so far? You know, as being a CARICOM youth ambassador over the past few months, you know, what has that meant for you? You know, just give us an idea about your experience.
Well, ever since I became an ambassador, it really opened up my eyes to the issues that are in the youth space. I think before I had like a general idea of what's happening in the youth space, and then becoming an ambassador, I got to see that yes, there are the general issues, but there are the issues that no one speak about. We have the youth tokenism, where young people that we are just being used probably for a PR stunt. You know, they will take a picture of us and say, "Oh, we are so happy to have the youthful perspective," when in reality, us as the youth, we are given that equal opportunity at the decision table. When we look at segregation within the youth space, I think a lot of the people to youth work, they want to participate in this youth group, but there's this general misconception that youth work is reserved for the smart kids, the nerds, the degree holders, those who went to a particular school, those who come from a certain background. I always like to educate people and tell them, no, that is not the case. If you want to get into youth work, if you want to get into all those youth groups, beauty, it's all about being young and being someone who wants to contribute to the development of the community. Becoming an ambassador now, it really made me realize that if you know I have this platform where we can really get to it, where I can really see how I can address these issues, and that's how it's been thus far. In addition to that, we really have a program. There's room for improvement. The last program was during the COVID pandemic, so most of the initiatives were done online, and that may have resulted in people not really knowing what the program is about. So now, as the ambassadors for the program out of COVID, we really want to make a bang. We really want that when you can stop any random young person and ask them, "What do you know about CARICOM?" they can give you a well-informed answer. So that's where we're at.
Excellent. Look, I want to take the opportunity also because certainly, you know, I'm someone that's always very proud in terms of and very passionate when it comes to youth development. Tell us a little bit. I know also persons see Luke James Trim and persons may wonder, is this the first time Tobago is being involved? And I particularly know we have the privilege of having had past young men continuing to represent us as something very impressive indeed, not just dominated by female only, but young men. Care to mention a name or two in terms of past CARICOM youth ambassadors from Trinidad and Tobago that would have been based in Tobago?
Sure. So, Mr. Keegan Denoon, sometimes I like to view him as a mentor. He was the elder before me, and Keegan is someone who is very passionate about youth development, especially our young men. Sometimes when I need that guidance, when I need that direction, Keegan is just one phone call away. Then we have Mr. Dexter has always been on the forefront of youth entrepreneurship. These are young men that have really cleared the path and made avenues for young men like me. So I always say that if it weren't for them, like showing me that it can be done, I don't think that I would have been in the spaces that I am for today. So I really want to thank Keegan and Mr. Wilson for just them for being passionate about our young men and ensuring that the stigma around men and our young boys being on the opposite side of the law, that they can probably and strategies and policies that can help alleviate that perception. So I thank them. I really, really thank them.
Indeed, shout outs there, Keegan Denoon and Dexter Wilson again, two of our young men doing well on the outside. Look, in the earlier comment, you touched on the issue of community. And I know even from beyond just CARICOM Youth Ambassador, interacting with you, your community and family life and support in terms of friends, that's part of your drive and your energy. Tell us a little bit about, the importance of that, in terms of sharing to motivate and encourage other young persons out there.
So, Mr. Skeet, I really love this question because community means me. I think as I got older, when I was younger, I always saw the community probably intimate relationship with. And then as I got older, I realized that it really comes down to your friends and the people you have in your circle. Mr. Skeet, there were times where I wasn't feeling 100%, and because of the friends, because of how they thought about me and the way they encouraged me, I was able to participate in things I never knew I would have participated in. And this is an opportunity where I have to really shout out my really, really, really good friend, Miss Kaylee Lewis. You know, she's always by my side. She's been sticking with me. She's been encouraging me at times where I never felt 100%. And then my community of Mount St. George, that village, you know, sometimes we always say that it takes a village to raise a child. And it sounds cliche, it sounds like, okay, I've heard this before, but that has been my case as a young boy growing up in the village of Mount St. George. The villagers, they always had that level of care for me. They will always tell my grandparents, always look, if there's a program or some type of benefit from, they would have advocated vigorously for me to get into it. And I always like to tell people that if it weren't for that level of care I received from my community at Mount St. George, you know, they always having faith in me and wanting me to unlock within myself, become the best version of myself possible. I don't think it would have been a Luke James stream for today. And when I look at my family, you know, family values mean a lot to me. My mom, Luan James, you know, she made a lot of sacrifices to ensure that I am comfortable and I am okay. Even my aunt, Natasha James Bedlow, sometimes I used to call her my career manager. She would have really helped me switch from, well, really get into the world of media, would have encouraged me, gave me tips on how I should do my interviews. My aunt Ruby James Waldron's my spiritual guide. Sometimes she will call me for health checkups and to make sure I'm okay and give me that spiritual guidance, the scripture readers, and all their support really molded me into the young man I am today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. My friends in a circle, they know who they are. I just really love and appreciate them because if it wasn't for their support, their love and their encouragement, it would have been a difficult.
Well, Luke, as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador, what can we look forward for coming from you from in Tobago here?
So my main goal is to mobilize youth groups here in Tobago. I think I really want that youthful presence to be felt here in Tobago. I want that every time people driving on the side of the street, they're seeing some youth group doing something. I want us to get as active as possible. I think too often that most of the youth groups here in Tobago, they're a bit too easy. You know, a Christmas hamper drive, sometimes a back to school, but I want youth to build 24/7 because it's always, if a older head feel always okay, yeah, it's them, but when a young person does something or slip up, it's always them young people collectively, or how we say it in Tobago, them nowadays pick me. I think every person slips up, they always use it to categorize us on the whole. So I want for every youth group in Tobago to really get active. I want them to get probably more involved in the issues and more initiatives that are happening here in Tobago. And there's this conception as we always have to work twice as hard for half as much. I really want to see we as young people, we could really end this tokenism. The tokenism is getting and it's always yeah, let's take a picture, snap. Oh, we had a long conversation with CARICOM Youth Ambassador Luke James Shrimwin, and nothing of the sort happened. I think that needs to end. The youth, we are not stupid. We could see the bluff, we could see through the pretentiousness. So I really want the older heads and the decision makers to know that we are not here for that nonsense. So those are a few of my goals as CARICOM Youth Ambassador.
Tell us, and I'm happy that you mentioned that, how vital it is, and I know you've spoken to groups in a very broad way as one of the entities getting involved. How do you see yourself as CARICOM Youth Ambassador, even reaching out and helping to connect those young persons that we have out there that probably don't belong to formal groups? They are more in the informal groups, so we meet up and we lime every Friday, or we do something on the outside, and even some of those that are still caught in that web of not even recognizing the benefits of being in a group or an organization. So they go to school, they go to church, and then they are back home. Your thoughts on that, and any strategies in terms of reaching out to those young persons as well?
Well, I always like to start by asking them, what are you passionate about? Sometimes we have the youth in agriculture, we have the youth that are really good with their hands, we have the seamstress, the tailors, we have the youth that, well, like to argue. So those youths I like to get into advocacy. I like to ask them, what are you passionate about? And from that, I can guide them in the direction, well, that could really help you with that. I remember earlier in this year, January, for the Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit that took place right here in Tobago. I met about 3 years and they told me, okay, I want to get into you, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I first started asking her, what are you passionate about? She told me she loves PR, she loves social media. Then I would have called one of my dears who is the president for a particular youth group, and I said, hey, there's this young person that really wants to get into youth work, and I think she has the talent and the skills when it comes to public relations, and she's now the public relations officer for that particular youth group. So I always like to ask them to find out where their passions lie and try to see how best I can align them with a youth group that will represent their interests in the best way possible. In addition, for the youth there in Tobago, I really want them to have that Tobago pride. Before I moved to Trinidad to start university, I didn't realize the importance of having that Tobago pride and that Tobago love. Sometimes when you hear the misconceptions Trinidadians have of us here in Tobago, it really makes you wonder, like, wow. So recently I would have started the Tobago Students Association here in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm now serving as the president here because I really wanted the students here at UWE to have been a Tobagonian. I know sometimes they feel like the minority here in Trinidad, and I really wanted to assist them in terms of remembering who you are, culture, remembering our heritage. I remember when UWE had their Guild Fair, and all those islands had a tent where they could have displayed their culture. And Mr. Skeet Candice, I made about 3 laps around the quad, and there was no Tobago tent, and it made me feel disappointed as a Tobagonian that all these islands, all these countries are getting the opportunity to showcase their culture and their heritage, and Tobago is nowhere to be found. So from that situation, I said, okay, I'm going to start an association. I reached out to another youth, that's Miss Chrisanne John. She was always part of starting the association, and now we have kicked it off. And we're going to start populating the media. We're going to start populating you and letting everybody know what Tobago is all about. And that is where we are at the moment.
That's exciting things to look forward to, you, Luke. And I mean, we're just so happy to hear from you. And the next time you should actually be on set with us so we can have a deeper conversation and, explore some of these things that you're doing.
Sure. No problem. No, I love being in the studio. The studio is where my second heart is at. So I have no problem with that, Candice.
Certainly.
And in case, just as we prepare to wrap up, Luke, those persons who may have missed your final show or shows and just saying, but I'm not seeing our youth host, Luke James Trim, on a Wednesday anymore. Care to give an update to the viewers and listeners, Luke?
So, viewers and listeners, yes, I do miss you all here on the Wednesday morning show. Currently, I'm bachelor's of law. I am studying at the UWE St. Augustine. So I am far, but I'm still near. I still miss you. Some have calls from people calling me like, Luke, I miss you on the show. Luke, I miss you. But worry not, I will be back soon later, very, very soon. So just hold on to that. But I really miss vibing with you all here on the Wednesday shows. I miss Dwayne. I obviously miss Kaylee, but I do be seeing Kaylee sometimes. So I just miss the energy and the support that Tobago Updates brought. And soon and very soon I'll be back. I'll be back in the studio. I'll be back reporting. I'll be back hosting. So bear with me.
Indeed.
Looking forward to it.
And commendations, because even now, while you're across in Trinidad, you continue to make that impact and to represent, and you now have a broader opportunity at the level of Trinidad and Tobago. As Candice says, we're out of time, but certainly we'd like to have those further conversations that speaks to that broader impact as CARICOM Youth Ambassador, because we have no doubt, we are already extremely proud and knowledgeable of your work here. We also want that impact so that Trinidad and Tobago understands Luke James Trim, and certainly we continue to wish you the very best out there. And I know, like most of Tobago that would have gone before you, you will continue to leave that mark, ensure that they know without a shadow of a doubt Tobago is part of Trinidad and Tobago, distinct at that, and certainly making our contribution at the national level and beyond. So kudos and commendations again to you, Luke James Trim, our
Thank you,
CARICOM
Mr.
Youth
Smith.
Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago, one of two, certainly representing out there. You know, it's son of the soil that we continue to be very proud of.
Oh yes, I'm always very proud of Luke. Always, always, always. And I certainly miss him being around, you know. So
you know what comes back to me immediately, I remember that snapshot when you know, our camera and directors here did that pick out of Luke, you know, recommendations too also coming from his very good friend Kaylee,
Yes.
in terms of the mix to come on and to get involved in media. And indeed, he has been able to grow and to thrive so much. And really, as I always make the point, folks, and this is my opportunity to remind you of that, sometimes it just takes one to believe in our young persons, and we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Too often as a society, and I'm happy you brought it out, we are too busy and eager to fight down and to highlight the negative something that has happened. As if the older generation is perfect. You all have made many mistakes, and we know. We know. You didn't just get as good as you are now. We know that you have made mistakes. And so let's not just harp on the negative element. There are young persons out there doing exceptional things, and sometimes they just need one other to believe in them and to give them that motivation and encouragement. And we'll see the amazing things that our youth population can continue to do as part of contributing to the development thrust. In fact, if I am to use the political example, we've made changes. We've now got a younger minority leader and a younger chief secretary. Take note and look at the Caribbean region and the world at large. We're doing things differently. That's the only way we're going to attempt to yield some kind of different results. So kudos and commendations out there, continuing to do great things.
Well, viewers, we're going to go for a quick break, but we'll be right back. But in the meantime, please remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
You know, who would I ever believe, Jessica could take care of a child,
I know, right? I'm a kinship foster parent to my nephew Malik.
Papa, you remind me of my grandmother, you know, when she used to take care of my cousins.
If I didn't step in, I don't know where he would have ended up. Plus, I get support from Children's Authority, training, and counseling.
But Jessica, you not married?
That doesn't matter once you have a safe home and you're related to the child. You're good.
So did this give money to do this?
Yeah, they do give me some money.
So, Auntie, you can buy a lamb I gave you for me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Malik, but that money's to take care of you. Okay, smubble up, beans.
I went and try. Mommy, you can buy
No.
Wait, I didn't even finish my sentence.
About Lamborghini, you could get lamb stew for lunch.
Auntie Jessica could only come when you come in, because all them does do is talk people business.
Malakay, I'm only going on the bed.
But Mommy, the boy don't even live here.
Yeah, go to your bunkers.
What? Bunkers? Where's that?
I think I'm getting pretty good at this.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch Number 1, the building formerly occupied by Coastal. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at Number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, Building 1 and 2.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat. Oh, this is so stylish and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection. Now exclusively available at Standard.
Tobago glass Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the
Morning.
Tobago Updates Morning Show viewers. We are so happy to continue being here with you this morning. But now I'm going to be joined by Miss Aisha McKnight, who is the research and data business analyst for Transformation Data into Dollars, a workshop that's coming up. Good morning and welcome to you.
Hi, morning. Morning, Tobago.
How are you doing this morning?
I am good, actually. I'm really great. Thanks.
All right, so you're having this workshop coming up called Transformation Data into Dollars, and that's a whole lot of information in one little title. So I want you to start by unpacking that and telling us, what is this all about?
Okay, so we have so many small businesses here in Tobago and small and medium businesses that collect information. So data is simply the things that you collect, numbers, dates, your customer reviews, that kind of thing. So what I want to do is to allow people or give people that chance to use that information to increase their profits, basically. Use that information that you have or that you want to start collecting to increase the amount of money, to increase your efficiency as a small or medium-sized business.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, when you're talking about data now, is it just data from sales? Is it data from, your customers? Can you expand a little bit on what you mean?
Data is everything, basically, that
Yes.
you can collect. We are in the age of the internet, and so there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information spreading around. But for small businesses, you can use stuff like, as I said, your customers, your sales, your orders, your suppliers, any information that you have from them. And what I can do is show you how to use that information to become more efficient. And with efficiency comes the increase of profits.
Mm-hmm. And what's an example of that?
Okay, so if we look at your sales, right? Everybody, whether your business is online, whether you have a storefront, you look at your sales trends, what people are buying, what they're not buying, what customers are purchasing, at what frequency, how often they are buying stuff. And with that, you know what to keep in stock, what to let go, what you need to change. When you look at customer reviews, you know how to interact with customers. I would give you tips and tools in how to deal with your customer service, because customer service is a major thing here, and we have to be able to efficiently use customer service and customer reviews in order to boost our sales and boost your profits, basically.
Why is this something that you feel so passionately about?
Because I am a small business owner. And when I started my business a year ago, I didn't have that information. I saw it in other places. I saw how data, because I'm a data analyst for a while. For more than 3 years, I've been a part of data collection, research, and that kind of thing for over 15 years. And I guess that is what has me passionate about it. Now that I'm a small business owner, I see what actually having the information can do, how it can cause us to increase our business and to expand our business. Once we have the correct information, you make better decisions for your business. So data-driven decisions would allow you, again, to increase your profits. And the bottom line for any business is profit.
And so on this workshop, you're going to have some lessons. Now, is this a one-day workshop?
It is a one-day workshop. We are going to be using a basic tool that everyone has on their laptop, Excel, just to show you how simple it is to use to collect information and then use that information to make strategic decisions for your business.
And it's interesting that you're starting there, because a lot of people are sometimes a little bit apprehensive about Excel, because it can at first glance it can look like a lot, but you're right, it actually does help quite a bit in organizing yourself and your business and so on.
And the thing with Excel, why it's a simple tool to use, or one of the most basic tools to use for data analysts, is because the formulas are already there.
Yes.
The formulas are already there, so you don't have to work any hard maths or anything like that. So persons could come into the workshop just expecting to learn ways to help themselves in this business. Outside of that, they would have to come to me, but just to learn to help themselves so that they could do their business for themselves.
And then especially, now as we're looking ahead and looking at seeing how we can grow our business and so on, how does that data organization of data, I should say, help in terms of being able to elevate your business to the next level?
Okay, so with as an analyst, we look at 4 different types of analysis. We look at descriptive, prescriptive, diagnostic, and predictive. So the predictive part of it would allow me to use your data to tell you what to do next. What if you should buy more of this, if you should find another supplier because this supplier is, the cost of their goods is too high and so it's eating into your profits. It allows me to do that just by looking at what information you have. Even if something is going wrong with your business, the data that we look at that you have would allow me to see what exactly is going on and where. So we look at your business procedures and your business structure and analyze everything from what you have into where you want to be. So persons, we would, on the workshop, we would, I'm asking persons to look at their KPIs, to develop KPIs for their business so that we have something to work towards, or they have something to work towards for the future.
And in case people don't know, what we're talking about, KPIs, the key performance indicators.
I'm so sorry.
So that's why. Yeah. And I mean, and as we're there on that point, could you just go a little bit into what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators, and how important that is as well in terms of, looking at your business?
For any business, knowing why or how you are successful or where you want to be is important. So that's basically what your KPIs is. These are metrics to assess your business by. If you are productive, where you want to be in the next 5 months, where you want to be in 6 months, where you would want to be in 2 years, how much, the amount of sales you would want, the amount of workers you would want, the amount of customers you want to bring into your business. All these could be used as KPIs to measure your business, how much profits you want to make at the end of a year, how much you want to pay yourself at the end of a month. All these are things to work towards, and your KPIs, your key performance indicators, are things like this. You give it a time, so you time it and set it so that you know that this is something I'm working towards in the next month, this is something I'm working towards in the next year. So it is important to set these things and to set goals for your business. So these are some of the things that we would be doing in the workshop as well, setting goals for your business. So whether you have an existing business, whether it's a new business idea, whatever it is, we can help this workshop would help you to get things off and started and get you on the ball to making that money.
And when is this workshop happening?
This workshop is on the 3rd of December. It's a Sunday afternoon when I know most businesses are closed. We're just coming out to have a relaxing afternoon and just to get some information. It will be held at the Blossoming Minds Institute, Educational Institute in Bonaccord.
Okay, and then how can people become a part of it? Who do they need to contact to register?
They could contact me at my WhatsApp number, 680-2104, or they could message me on my Instagram page at nights.analytics. Or I'm on TikTok. Or on TikTok at Nights Analytics as well, because that's the name of the business, Nights Analytics.
And you're also offering a deal for the first 10 that
Yes, the first
registering?
10 persons that register There's a registration form attached to the flyer, to anything that I post. So the first 10 persons will be getting 50% off. After that, we're doing 25% off. It's Black Friday, the whole season. So we're doing that to close off, to start as an introductory price.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Miss Aisha McKnight, for being on with us and for sharing with us this workshop, because, I mean, of course, it is very important as business people or people who are just getting into business. It's not just, selling a few things on the side of the road. It's
not.
way more than
if
that.
If we look at it deeper, it can help us and can increase our profits. And the bottom line, again, for any business is to make profit.
Yes, definitely. All right, so thank you. And if you are interested, get connected with Miss McKnight and, get some nice, helpful tips that could help take your business to the next level. In the meantime, that's it for Tobago Updates Morning Show. But we have Beneath the Surface coming up next with Mr. Jerry McFarlane. And he is going to be sitting down for the next hour with the Secretary of Food Production, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, and that is Ms. Natisha Charles Panton. So you're going to want to look forward to that coming up right after this. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.
Alphalea Telesford Recreation, Gideon McKellar Tours, and Cleon McPherson Promoters. Creative Tank is hosted by the Business Development Unit of the Division of Finance, Trade, and the Economy.
That was...
It really will give the farmers of Tobago an opportunity for them to have their produce on display, right? So the people in Tobago will actually see what the farmers have been doing so far, right? So today is a great day for the farmers to have their produce out in the open so that the general public can come and view at it and, if possible, purchase.
Specialize in doing wooden items, and like we have the cordless blender, the wooden one, the wire one, and we have all the wooden items like the dabbler. For those big outside cooking, we have the big wooden spoons. So I specialize in doing wooden items.
Well, we have okra, we have some lovely pumpkin, as you could see, as they mentioned, golden ray. We have coconut water both in the shell and in the bottle. We have juice also, as you could see, pomegranate, plus the guava, mixed with pumpkin. We have plantain plus banana, and we have avocado plus plantain that you could plant. It will be just now.
You are the farmer?
I'm the farmer.
You learn so much about farming. How long have you been farming?
Well, I could at least say from the time I know myself. It's because I grew up with my grandmother, and this is where she put me to involve in agriculture. And like that is in my genes, because sometimes when I'm sleeping in the night, it's like I only seen for juice. So I really love it.
I didn't know about it. I just was passing by and somebody introduced me to it, and I came in and look, I get cassava, dashi, and all these kind of things to go home and make a little soup. So I appreciate what I see taking place. I see that the agricultural development is really developing in Tobago. And I would like to see much more of this taking place. And I like to see it extend worldwide.
What juice tasting?
Very good. This is guava. It's guava juice.
We accompany people from the womb to the tomb with information that guides you through life. So if you are interested in starting your family, we have relationship books, including one like this one, The Language of Love. So you will learn how to communicate generally, but especially within your family relationship. We have on health, we have on child rearing. The farmers market gives us an opportunity to help folks to know how to use the things that they buy for good health. So that is why we are here.
Everything here is locally grown, organically grown, and if it's not grown, then it's produced, the byproducts of that which we grow from the soil.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the song.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, listeners and people all over the world in Trinidad and Tobago, or wherever you're listening to this program. This is Beneath the Surface, and coming to you from the lovely studios of Tobago Updates Television. And this morning, as usual, as we have indicated previously, we continue with our series, Beneath the Surface, and that has to do with having a nice informal chat with members of the Tobago House of Assembly, assemblymen as they're being called legally, although some women take objections to that, but we try to see how that works. But we look at all the members of the Tobago House of Assembly, including the councillors, the presiding officers, have a nice chat with them and see where they're going, some of the challenges they have, how they made the transition for whatever area they were involved before, and moving to a point where they do transition or transforming the respective divisions or with the responsibilities that they were given by the Chief Secretary. So I have the pleasure this morning, the very distinct pleasure and honor to have before me the Secretary or Assemblyman, as we would say, Letitia Charles Pantin. And of course, Letitia, Secretary, happy to see you here and to be partaking with this program and making your contribution. We look forward to having this interview. You seem so well dappered and like you're well prepared for me this morning.
Well, I'm trying to embrace my roots today. Sometimes I wake up and I decide what mood I'm in, and today I'm in an African type mood. Yeah, so I'm embracing that this morning. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to the world.
Yeah, we should get straight into it a little bit. And I always, from the time you were appointed secretary and I saw the naming of the division, I said, it always tell me of a story, the division itself, the naming of the division that talks about food security, natural resources, the environment, and sustainable development after that in the end. It really tells you a story where this person want to go or where the assembly want to take this sector. Is that the same thing, the same feeling that you got?
Oh, definitely. When this was bestowed upon me, I said, wow, they gave me everything that, that captured everything in Tobago, food security, natural resources, the environment, sustainable development, and part of that is like renewable energy and all of that. So they gave me a huge portfolio. But you know what? The Chief Secretary said, I think you'll be able to handle it. And so far, I think I have been doing that. I've been trying to work together with the team so that we execute the mandate of Tobago.
Yeah, it really looks so. And the story is like, you have food security. You have to make sure that people get food, whether they grow it or you import it or you process it. It speaks to that. natural resources, in getting your food and so on. You have to protect your natural resources, environment. You have to protect and have a sustainable approach to our environment and protect that as well, and then and sustainable development. All this rungs off. Do it in a sustainable way.
Correct.
I really like how it is done, and I hold does that form the mantra or the direction or the approach that you'll be looking at in terms of the operating as secretary in the division?
Well, so far that is what I've been doing. So I had to look at the portfolio and redesign it, because I've been in the division for over 18 years, and before it was just food production, forestry and fisheries. And then I said to myself, how do we make everything that we're doing sustainable? So I decided to look at the division as a science and a business. For far too long, we have been facilitating everyone without the thought of it becoming sustainable, And because we're so underfunded, we have been for decades, we have been struggling to do a lot of maintenance work, to provide the necessary support. So whatever money that comes to the division now, we have to look at it in terms of an investment, So whenever we spend money, we are investing the money, either in the people or into infrastructure, whatever it is, so that people can have returns, not only from the assembly, but on a private, a privately driven sort of arrangement,
Project. Okay, well, that was an interesting way to introduce you and the division and so on. But let us shift a bit. We're going to come back to this in more greater detail in the latter part of the program. I don't want to say transition, but to some extent that is so. You transition from an employee of the division into division, having a division to manage, one of those entities in the division you were part of, and that is quite interesting. But where you grew up, let us start from there. Where you grew up, and in Tobago we have this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Which village or community raised you?
The village that raised me, just as what his name, Sparrow, the mighty Sparrow said, Mason Hall. So that is why I'm wrong like a case of ball. So I grew up in Kokowati Trace Mason Hall.
Really?
Yeah, opposite the Duncans. They traditionally did pig farming and dashing. They would supply quality pork to the market. So, it's a farming community more or less. Belmont Farm Road, Belmont connected to Hope. So I would be traversing between Kokowati and Belmont Farm, where my grandfather had over 40 acres of land. And whatever was given to my parents, that is what we had to work with, So my father would wake me up very early in the morning, and I'd have to go up in the farm with him. So we raised pigs, we raised all types of animals. Of course, I was afraid of the cows, but other than that, we did a whole lot of things, plant corn and peas. So I grew up in a rural type, village. And I was happy for that experience. It taught me a lot of humility, for one. I've never left that. It taught me skills, a lot of skills. I actually know how to make coconut oil and different things. And from that, I engaged in tour guiding, and so I actually love earthy things, and that is what I followed. My entire career path is earthy things.
And how you take the jokes that people may give people from Mason Hall, you do have C.
They don't have sea. Well, actually, I'm hoping that we have a fisherman fete soon,
In Mason Hall?
Yes, why not?
At least for people who reside in the area who are fishermen.
Well, Captain Ellis, I grew up knowing him from Mason Hall. And he is an excellent captain. He's our best. And that tells you that you don't necessarily have to live on the coastline. So I definitely
to be an effective and
that's right.
effective fisherman.
Correct. Yeah. And I know a couple guys other than Captain Ellis that live in Kokowati as well. And they do fishing. Harold and these guys. they are really good at fishing. Yeah, so I mean, Tobago is a small place. It doesn't take you long to reach to a
definitely.
sea. Yeah.
You know, I had a friend in Mason Hall, and you know, I used to tell her, you know, you're living in the bush, you ain't have sea, and so on, and she used to take offense. But I used to just poke the fun still, you know, you're living in the bush, and you live in the bush or the forest. One day she told me, listen, I live on the edge of the oldest protective rainforest in the Western Hemisphere.
Correct. Correct.
Daddy Boo, after that, me never make that joke again because she was so correct,
Yes.
you know, and so value to the community where you live. You don't have to have all the resources,
correct,
you know, and the sea don't make it all the resources or make you happier,
correct.
You know, but living on the edge of the rainforest, you know, it was really startling and show the pride that she have in the community.
Correct,
you know?
yes. And every morning you wake up, you'll see the mist.
Mhm.
You know, Mason Hall is known for always being cold. And the people talk about sea blast, but trust me, you get that rusting of your home because of the coldness of the area. Yeah, so maintenance is also a big thing inland as well. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so, yeah, growing up in Mason Hall. But you stand out, you always show a positive approach to things. You know, you in dealing with you over the last couple of year or two, you know, you always seem to be, nothing don't seem to be daunting you that easily. When you got this kind of training and way of dealing with people, I see you deal with so many issues of varying proportion. I mean, it's just amazing. You know, where you get this grounding from?
Well, as you see that, you know, I've grown up with, my parents grew me up with a lot of humility, yeah? But in terms of training, so I went to ECIAF, we did agriculture and forestry. And part of adopting that type of training at ECIAF is stakeholder consultation, yeah? So everything you do, so whether it is at college, university, because I attended University of Edinburgh in Scotland and then Liverpool, yeah? And everything that you do, you must do stakeholder consultation. So it's embedded in me, that my first instinct, yeah? So I guess that is why I try to manage, bearing in mind what I've learned, as well as incorporating what's happening out there on the ground. Because I'll tell you something, if you're a true scientist, you must embrace the views of persons in the community, because they have local knowledge. I call them local scientists, yeah? So without merging that theoretical, you know, and with the practical aspect, you wouldn't get maximum success without merging both. So you must consider stakeholder consultation, yeah?
Yeah, and stakeholder consultation deals with all the issues that the stakeholders may have, all the relationship or broken or challenged relationship.
Yes, all the aggression,
all the aggression.
And all of that. But it takes a toll on you. At
if you
some
don't deal
point.
with it early and frontal.
Correct. And not only that, in order to, you know, look at, because you have, being an assemblyman, it is challenging, and a secretary, because you have to manage what happens in the constituency, and you have to manage what happens in the division, taking into consideration the views of everyone. So sometimes you need a break in between that, because at some point, you know, you lose a lot of sleep, you lose, you know, any sort of your personal life, you really don't have it anymore. So it takes a toll on you if you don't stop to rest a bit, yeah, and get back to it, because you have to represent people when you're at 100%. When you're at 20%, it's hard. I'm telling you that. So you must take a little time just to reflect, you know, balance yourself, and then go back at it. Yeah, so that's that is my...
and how you deal with people's expectations, some reasonable, some most unreasonable, and some dire situations. How you deal with people's expectations. You can't be all and everything for everybody.
Yes, you can't satisfy everyone's expectations if you don't, how to put it? Sometimes people don't know what you know. Let's put it like that. And you don't know what people know. And you have to bring everything forward so that you know, you reason it out, you use logical steps towards understanding process. Yeah. So communication, when you increase and improve communication and people understand and you come to some resolve. Yeah. So that is why you have to listen. And sometimes when you listen and you hear people talk and they express their views, and then they say, you know what, I think this person, they don't understand that this is the challenge. Yeah? So you have to present what you have and they present what they have. And then you come to a common ground. Not what you want or what one person wants, but you try to come to a common ground and the majority, what the majority want. Yeah, so that's why you have polls.
Although sometimes what the majority say may not necessarily be right and be appropriate, and there is a kind of popularity that sometimes rules over common sense.
Yes, but you still have to factor in that sometimes the majority may not have the information. Yeah, so that is why I said you have to put everything out there and then you come up to a logical. I understand representation even more now. As I've had the experience for 2 years. Yes, sometimes people make recommendations that you yourself say, okay, I don't think that would work, But why not try what the majority is saying? Just try it. And if it doesn't work, because nothing is wrong with failing sometimes. Any businessman would tell you that I don't think they've ever been successful the first time around.
You're telling me.
Right. So we are afraid of failure too much. Yeah, you try your best not to fail because you don't want to waste resources, especially in my division where we have a little. But you don't be afraid to fail. Go with the majority and maybe it might prove to them that, look, this might have been the better approach. And sometimes you get that in politics. I remember when I was young, you're very young, well, younger, right? You would hear adults talking about why Robinson doing this and he introduced VAT and the price and everybody quarreling. And then later on you're hearing them saying, well, it's a good thing Robinson introduced.
Yeah. His life in politics was really interesting to see how he rose and then.
Yes, so he went against the majority and then we benefited
of course, he was
in the long
looking
run.
at the bigger picture of this country and how we could proceed, how we could cut expenditure, get greater revenue.
Correct.
It's a different kind of leadership and prime ministership that we were accustomed to.
Correct.
Yeah, but you studied forestry in particular. What you studied really you said at the in Scotland, Edinburgh.
Well, in Edinburgh, I did ecological sciences and forestry. And then at Liverpool, I did masters in public health, management of health systems. Yeah. So I did a whole lot of things in my life.
Yeah, and of course that served you well for the position you now hold.
Correct.
And so on.
Correct.
And you think that the population or even the stakeholders getting you have a framework for really working closer with them and even the division
and
or having the division respond to some of the needs of the stakeholders.
Correct. What I've identified, and I'll start it with the division first. Now, I was really tired of hearing, being an employee of the division myself, I was really tired of hearing the population saying agriculture not doing nothing. And maybe that might be true, might have been true. So what I try to do is, mentor both the experience with persons that didn't have as much experience as the experience within the division and try to get them to work together so that they could execute their jobs more effectively. I had to train them, get them out of that mentality that we don't have any money to do anything, because that's the first thing they will tell you. Where we getting the money from? This makes sense, but we ain't have no money. and that is what you get every time you try to fix something. So, when you look at the stations, for example, and many of them, you see the ceiling, it's heavy with woodens, infrastructure in a mess, systems not in place, to provide any sort of indicators of performance or success. And it was really, you could see why it was a depressing division, yeah? And I said to myself, no, but we have something that's valuable here. We have trained people. Everybody in the division, they are skillful, they are well educated. So, I mean, we have some of the best scientists in Tobago. And when you listen, I'll take, for example, Dr. Crooks. When Dr. Crooks starts speaking, Paul Crooks, sometimes you have to sit back and listen and say, wow. You say to yourself, wow. Right? I would have said wow on many occasions, just listening to him articulate and his experience. Our human resource, perfect. I can tell you that.
And there's where the big challenge is.
Yes.
You have a good human resource, or quite a few people, I should say,
Yes.
good capability, good competence, and so on, and good attitude towards delivering the kind of service, you know. But there are others who don't really care, and some of them are professionals as well,
Correct.
who just cover up, they do things, everything is slip under the carpet and that sort of
but
thing.
in my
And that is where the
division,
big
you
change has to come
cannot
from.
fake it to make it. I could tell you that. You can't fake it to make it. If you are into crop science, livestock, energy, you cannot fake it to make it. Every single officer, whether it is at a degree level or otherwise, once they show you something, you could tell these people know what they're doing. We have a home garden unit, and look at the marvelous work they have been doing, both in the homes and in the schools.
Yeah, and that is an area that I find really need more publicity. And to be quite honest, you know, really those people working. And I understand one of the key employees has left, you know, and I know it'd be very, very difficult to replace that person.
Correct, yeah. In this division, you cannot fake it to make it. I'm telling you that. Yeah, so we have a good human resource cadre of workers that we can work with. So even though we don't have all the money, we're utilizing what we have. And that is why I believe we're so successful, right? Because we have the heart, all we need is the money.
Yeah, but Nitisha, you know, another critical thing that you have to address is the level of accountability in the division. You know, and all the public service too, you know, but, you know, critical divisions like agriculture, to me, agriculture, health are two critical divisions of the THA. You know, you have to pay attention to that. And you know, the same thing continues with, you know, staff complaining, no money and so on. But we could be so much more productive if we use our time more productively. You know, we try to send people home, send farmers back because it's lunchtime and that kind of thing. Somebody coming from Charlottesville or Palativale for some issue that you could quickly go to a vote book or some information and give them. You know, we had to do more than just that and complain about no funding. During my time, we had to find international agencies to help us do different things. The agriculture sector study that we did in my time, that was funded by AICA. We didn't have money to do that. You know, but we wanted to find out what is the status of the sector, you know, before we move or launch forward into any other area. So the collaboration and the change of attitude has to change. And the people have to be more accountable for their time and the silly excuses. Something has to be done with respect to that.
Well, I'll give credit to some of the officers who have been seeking funding externally, because recently we got some money from UNDP to do a local bay leaf and spice tea project, right? We got funding to do several things like the bamboo project in Kendall, right?
Oh, you have a bamboo project in Kendall?
Yes, where they're experimenting on using bamboo to build greenhouses, shade houses, right? We've partnered with Cardi to do the onion project and the carrot, right? So we have been focusing on the scientific side of things within the division. But yes, we are working towards that. And that is why we're trying to create the agribusiness center. And you'll see coming out from that center, access to more grants and loans to all stakeholders under the division. Yeah. So you no longer should you think about agriculture as the division has to give you everything that you want. Yeah, because that is impossible, right? We have too many competing interests and the wage bill is huge. So if you are a farmer, a commercial farmer, and that's why we're separating things now. So I spoke about the home gardening unit before, right? So if you are a home gardener, that is okay, right? We can give you support as a home gardener. But if you want to go a step further and become a commercial farmer, then you shouldn't be depending on the division for everything. You should have your own tractor. You should have some sort of infrastructure on site where you have an office. People can come and do business with you. And in order for you to do that, you need access to grant funding and loans. And that is why we're setting up this center to push you into true business, right? If you have to wait on tractor pool to plow or rotivate your land, then you're not into agriculture, right? As a commercial. In Trinidad, there is no tractor pool. Every farmer, when you pass on the farm, there's a tractor park up there. You can walk onto the farm and walk into a business and speak to the farmer. And that is how agriculture should be seen, yeah? As a business, right? The science of it. If you don't know the science, you're wasting your time. Because you could plant acres of land just on local knowledge alone. But if you bring in a soil scientist or agronomist, right, to assist you, you could increase productivity, yeah? So you might just be wasting your time doing the same thing the same way over and over again. So we have to bring in those people that could show you, okay, you could increase how much cassava you're producing by doing X. I could improve the growth of your bananas. If you're taking this long, we can cut the time short by doing X. You could plant this variety. So that is where the science comes in. So that is
Even
why
the tissue culture lab could be helpful in that kind of thing.
Correct.
As well.
And that's why we're experimenting on the avocados, yeah, at the tissue culture lab. So that's why I'm telling you, in the division, you cannot fake it to make it. You have the technical knowledge there. All we need is the money, yeah? So we're trying to equip you to become a commercial farmer if that is your desire. Yeah. So, and I was telling someone too, this whole thing about early morning jobs. While I understand that having a job under the THA, it seems as if that's the way to go. I feel secure. I feel, that I don't need to do anything else. I make it and I have everything in life. But if you look at the community out there, who are the business people? Who are the people focusing on getting a job in the Tobago House of Assembly, right? If you look at it, certain families, they're pushing their children into business immediately. They're not pushing them into getting an early morning job. And that is why I'm encouraging people, even if that is what makes you feel safe, having an early morning job, then think beyond that, because we're all blessed with certain skills, right? So having a business is also good. If you wanted, and fine, early morning work, no problem. But what else can you do besides that? Yeah?
Yeah, the early morning work is killing the sector. Well, the whole assembly, as a matter of fact, everybody wants this early morning work. That is a culture that I don't know, if I was in any position to change that, I will change that very radically and tell people, listen, that can't work, and we'll continue being beggars and mendicants and so on, and just depending on people to pay our salaries and just do nothing, and we feel proud about that. Not to mention the level of ghost gangs in the place. People just don't come to work and get paid. This is serious things that we have to find a way to deal with them. But you were talking earlier about the business initiative and training farmers to be business-like and so on. Extremely important. But some farmers, cry to me, especially when they try to get farming from at least 2 agencies. Agriculture Development Bank. It's just not outfitted in a way to deal or to really help farmers. The government and the policymakers of late seem to have a position that, listen, we have to make this service that you're providing profitable more than being helpful and creating people to be more business-like and so on. They just concentrate on making profit. You have to make profit on this. You have to make profit here. You have to show a profit here. We are at a stage where we have to do cajoling, supporting, holding people's hands, and so on. When you do that and you go to the bank, Agriculture Development Bank, for example, they can't give you this. And on the other side, one guy told me he went to doing a particular poultry project. He wanted a hatchery. He went, asked them for particular sum, he produced this particular numbers, $200 and something thousand he wanted. The people at the bank tell him, no, you should take a $1.1 million funding and so on. You could understand the audacity and the lack of seriousness in this institution. You know, you go now to the BDU, where you're trying to get a loan to do something. They say they're not giving you no funding that will, and you may get grants there. They're not giving you nothing that, especially at dealing with building material. You can imagine that? We just, the systems, people put them in place for good reason, but you're just not getting the kind of services or the feedback or the kind of satisfaction from the farmers or the stakeholders to make the thing work, to get the kind of drive and development that you're talking about or you're seeking to achieve. We have to look at all of that.
We have to look at, and it's a conversation.
Financing is a serious issue.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we have to. But I'll tell you something. The last time I had a chat with people at ADB. Now, ADB is a bank, just like a regular bank. Yeah,
It's just not just like a regular bank. We must not consider it that way,
No.
Secretary.
When they communicated to me, I'm telling you the conversation. Yeah, when they make that investment in you, they expect it to be successful. That's why I say it's just like they think like a regular bank. But
there must be conditions for your loans. And so
yes, right, like a regular
don't make
bank.
it so onerous.
Right, but they're making it correct, right? So if you look at the fishermen, for example, and you look at and they tell you about the records, they'll tell you that fishermen access loans from them easily, right? Why? Because they're able to pay it back. But in terms of farming, farmers can't give you that type of guarantee. Yeah? So fishermen are more inclined to get more funding from ADB. Now, when you look at the sector, especially in terms of farming, there are certain things that you have to put in place. So I would not blame ADB, right? And I wouldn't blame the farmer either. You do what you know, yeah? If I have to be honest about how farming has been over the years, even in my time when I used to farm with my parents, record keeping was not a big thing. Yeah? Now, my father, we never took loans to farm, yeah? But we never kept records. So we would plant, we would reap, we would sell, and that's it.
And the money, the revenue is for generating in the household.
Correct. So that money would go and buy your school clothes, that would put food on your table, things like that. But to write down everything, that never happened, right? And over the years, we're trying, well, people have tried to get farmers to keep books. And recently, when I attended the Caribbean Week of Agriculture in the Bahamas, I realized that this is not something specific to Tobago. Yeah? This is something specific across the region, among farmers. Yeah? Record keeping is a problem. So they are trying to organize farmers so that they can keep proper records and have greater access, whether to grants or loans. And they have to understand that it's not somebody trying to mind your business per se, but we are trying to mind your business by creating your, whatever you're doing there, into a business. So ADB would think along those lines. How can farmers come together to understand there are certain things that are required of you before you access a loan, right? We have excellent fishermen. And sometimes, you know, one or two would come to me and I realize they don't keep records either. So I would encourage them to keep records, right? Put them on to people that can assist them with that. So creating the agribusiness center is the way to go because, you know, farming the traditional way is good, but we need to keep up with the times and with the technology. So
but the agribusiness center is just to train people how to keep records and to understand business
and how to access
and
because
that sort of thing.
Let's be fair.
What about granting or funds or
yes, definitely.
Support?
But let's
helping people develop the proposal. A lot of people have the ideas.
No, but you
can't
have to
put it on paper.
Correct, and that's what I was about to say. You have to be fair. Not every farmer would be able to sit down and write a proposal. Yeah, so that is where the agribusiness center comes in. Right? To organize them in that way to be able to access not only loans, but grants Something comes up, they want a grant, we can assist you here.
So the agribusiness center will give the grant, or they're sourcing it or recommending it to another entity to give it the grant?
Both. Once we have the allocation, we have the funding releases, we can fund things, yeah? But sometimes somebody may need something that we can't fund, right? And that's where venture capital and these other agencies would come in. But once we have the releases, and as I said, the division, we don't get a lot. But once we see that you're organized enough to have a successful business, then definitely this is something we'll take to the Executive Council.
Yeah. And as you talk venture capital, there's another serious situation that we have here. You know, the venture capital, I know at least 3 persons with application for business for this venture capital and no response. So far. 3 years secretary. 3 years
well, I don't know,
venture capital.
I don't know
and it's not that they have no money, you know. There's money there for that.
But I don't know the details.
That is one of the serious things we have to discuss with the chief.
I don't know the details of it, but I'll tell you, one group came to me, and while the idea was exciting, their project cost $7 million, right? And when I read through the entire thing, I immediately recognized that they didn't think along the entire value chain, right? So I told them to build it out in phases. One, they didn't have the experience, right, in doing anything at all. So for me to say, okay, I'm going to give you $7 million to execute this project,
and nobody would
just give you $7 million. So I said, build it out into phases. First, get to understand, you know, how animals, you know, the whole milk production exercise, and, you know, you have to still talk about those systems to ensure that, you know, HACCP standards, and they didn't consider all of these things,
quality
because you can't sell, you can't sell milk to the population without considering building in, you know, those, you know, quality controls. So all of that, I try to mentor people, but the secretary, I don't really have the time to go through every proposal in Tobago and to mentor every single person. So the agribusiness center would bring everybody together, yeah, so that you get the same information, the same time. So we would reduce, you know, just the foot, one in, one out, one in, one out. And then by the time you look, a year gone, and that one person then get the assistance that they need. But if I know we have several people in this space that want to do milk production, it becomes easy. Yeah, it's easier. Right? There are several people in this space that want to do poultry. It becomes easier. You bring them together and you roll out one program. Yeah? So that organizing, and that's why I was so happy to report among the other countries that we have started reorganizing the division so that we know who are the home gardeners, who are the farmers that want to go into commercial farming, right? We're trying to find out, you know, all those sources where we could get resources from, and we're trying to find those skillful people within the division that know about proposal writing, and so once you organize things, it's easier to manage, yeah? So that is how I'm trying to take the division within the time given to me.
Those are some serious areas. But if we should look, before we run out of time, the discussion is becoming so interesting. Some of the critical subsectors and so on, maybe we should just talk quickly about some of them. Tree crop production, fruit, roots, and vegetables. What impact you're making in that area? What challenges or what success you have been having in those areas? The tree
well, let me start tree crops
and vegetables.
So
and
we are going to do
as well.
We are going to do some planting up, because we have fruit trees in the nursery, and we've identified 2 areas, one in Louis d'Or and one not too far from Louis d'Or, to do the food farming. Yeah. And what I observed when I went to Nevis, they run it like a business. Yeah, and you see what I say, farming is a business, science is a business. And I must say, it's the biggest dongs tree dongs I've ever eaten, and the biggest dongs tree I've ever seen is in Nevis. And you go there, and they give you a tour, then you sit down at, you know, they have a nice little tuck shop, and you have a fresh smoothie, And then, you know, well, at that time, I introduced myself. So we had a discussion of you know, how this would fit into something like Tobago. We have a lot of tour guides, you know, scattered about the place. And that's why I'm saying, if people in Tobago, which is one of the most difficult things to do, could come together and work out what they need as a group, then it becomes easier. Yeah? So you have a food, let's envision we set up the food farm right in Louisville. Why can't that be part of the package when people come to do tours?
But we used to do that long time at the same Louisville. That was a tourist stop. That was an important tourist stop for when they come off the cruise ship.
And when you finish brush cutting the side of the road, then you go to the food farm and you engage, you know, in some sort of commercial activity with your visitors on the island. Why can't that happen? Why everything is, I want an early morning, why can't you stay there? Let me tell you. You see on the Capital of Paradise, those guys make more money than any secretary could make. Yeah? Because they get paid by the catch. So you out there, you know, just a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and you come back in and you have a lot of money to work with. That you could do anything. Eventually you could buy your own vessel. But having an early morning job, where do you go from there if that is all that you're aspiring to? Right?
Yeah, we have to change the culture. So that was root crops and food crops. But any particular thing in terms of like planting and doing planting chips or encouraging people to do planting chips, bananas and roots and vegetables, you know, there's still an insatiable demand for yam, in my view, on the island. I know Dylan has been doing his piece, someone and two other farmers doing it at fairly small scale, you know. I went to Jamaica some time ago when Bolt won something, and Bolt made the mistake, well, I don't say the mistake, but he promoted yam because he was from Trelawney, and where they had an endless yam thing and yam festival and all kind of thing. And when we went there, they had no yam. Because the people just start to buy out all the yam and taste the yam. You know, he created a demand, such an appetite for yam. So when we went this a few months after this thing, difficult for you to get yam.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the kind of hype that you need for some of these crops and vegetables and so on. Create a hype. You know?
Well, and that's what we try to do with the Lamb Fest. You try to test the market. Now, business comes out from demand, right? If people don't want your product, you don't have a business, yeah? And we saw that within, 2 hours, all the lamb went. It was so embarrassing.
Yes.
You thought that 5,000 pounds of lamb was enough for a festival? No. Right. So now we know Tobagonians love
exactly,
lamb.
You know.
So let's talk about yam. And I don't know if you know Potter Bruno. He
Potter, yes. Of course.
Oh, everybody knows Potter. Excellent in terms of crop science. So he started a program with yam at Indian Walk. Yeah, teaching farmers how to grow yams and the different
Indian
varieties.
That's
Mariah? Up in Mariah.
Yeah.
Right. So we are doing yams as well. Right? As a matter of fact.
And you're doing the different types?
Different types.
The canny yam, the Ibu, and the yellow yam, and all these things. So you have the different varieties in different areas. And not mixing them up.
And not mixing them up.
Please, thank you.
So Potter has been doing a good job with the yam program. Yeah? So a lot of things that, you know, you think we are not doing, we are actually doing. Yeah? People didn't know that we started to train persons on how to do onions. Yeah. So that's on the demonstration center at Goodwood. And maybe I should pause to talk about the Tobago Agri-Research Institute. And that is why we are trying to further develop Kendall Farm School into one that, you know, persons from anywhere in the region, they could come and learn agriculture.
But you have to have the agriculture in the ground or in the pens or in the paddock to know what you're talking about.
Correct. And so we have to have connectivity among the stations. labels. Yeah. So under that TARI, Tobago Agri-Technology Research Institute, we are going to label or brand some of the stations as a participative units under TARI, so that we can take school children there, farmers there, and they can learn whatever science they need to learn as it relates to crops and livestock. Yeah. In terms of, and that would feed into the mega farming project. Now, mega farms of the old days, you know, is massive acres of land under production. That is not what we are going to do, right? We have seen where many models of that, they have never worked. Yeah, these models, they have never worked. So
because they require a lot of resources to manage, operate, and market.
And market. But if we have people that are passionate for a particular industry, we bring them
of a particular size and model.
Right? You will be brought under a contract to produce. So if you take, if you in Plymouth, you have a piece of land in Plymouth, or I have a piece of land in Mason Hall, or anybody, you can sign on to an initiative under the division or under TADCO, yeah? And we will take it from you, process it, package it, and market it. So that is what the mega farming project is about. It is not about clearing massive amounts of land. We can't do that. We can't afford to do that in Tobago, right? We have resilience problems as it relates to landslides and all these things. So we cannot do that in Tobago, yeah? We have to give people contracts to produce. And I remember one farmer asking, so why you just can't take mine? No. If I am a business, let's say I'm a hotel, and I decide I want corn from you alone. When your corn done, where are getting the rest of corn? So that's why we need people to come together under the mega farming project. So we have something sustainable, the division that it's called sustainable development. Yeah? So the hotel should be, they could rely on TADCO to supply certain goods, right? If we don't have an organized way of doing commercial farming, they would not take us serious. TADCO was able to provide poultry to the island, supply poultry to several franchises in Tobago when the boat was done.
Yeah, that was really interesting. That was good. That was notable.
And that was a pilot project. So just imagine if we do that for certain commodities in this space. That was successful. Nobody can, doubt that, right? That TADCO successfully supplied poultry to the franchises and to individuals at prices that you can't find anywhere. Where you're getting 4 whole chickens for $120, right? Yeah. And I made sure to capitalize on that too. Yeah, because I went to buy. And I felt good supporting the local farmers.
You may have to look at is the name mega farm and what it connotates, you know?
Yes.
When it connotes, but we have to, maybe you could call it maybe productive farms or sustainable farms or something like that. The mega farm really give people an idea of these huge, massive farms. And
but
so
I didn't give it the name. I didn't give it the name. I was given a mandate. And with that mandate, I looked at it and I said, this is what, and that's why, okay, you would come with an idea, yeah? And, to people who could do the research and then tell you, Mr. McFarlane, while I believe mutton is good, you should do X, Y, Z. So that is why I took the mandate and I did my research and I saw where this approach could work, rather than the traditional approach, yeah?
Yeah. And it's also sometimes good to mix the sheep with the goat sometimes. Other people don't like it, but the goat and the sheep both have some valuable thing, People look for, you pay high price for lamb, than even goat.
Well, we recently paid $25 a pound live weight. So that is to tell you, we value our lamb. We want, and that is why we're putting it out from December to next year, June. We want 1,000 lambs from the farmers and 500 goat kids to put on the stations. Yeah? So we're going to have it in an organized way, of course.
When you say putting it on the station, you're buying it from the local farmers?
From the local farmers. Everybody. Yeah, but we're not going to import. That's not the first step. We want quality stock for the farms, yeah? And we are giving the local farmers the challenge. We're going to buy these stock from you. We're going to buy 500 goat kids, 1,000 lambs to replenish the stock on the farms. And we're going to have our vets. We have several vets in this space. Excellent.
But what is the objective for having 1,000 kids placed on the particular stations?
In preparation,
what is the objective to do?
In preparation for mega farming project. Yeah? Yeah. We have to do several things in order to get the numbers that we need to jumpstart the industry. So the livestock industry, we need to jumpstart it. And when the Cubans came, they did an assessment of some of the animals that we have on the island, and they also gave us the credit for having quality stock, right, in Tobago. So why go external first? Let us try to get the stock internally, put some money into the pockets of our farmers, and, you know, jumpstart the process, yeah? So we're giving you the challenge out there, yeah?
Yeah. Let's say quickly, believe me, we have about 5 more minutes, but there are problems on some of the stations, which I don't want to go too much into. But areas like, for example, tissue culture. When you make a request for a problem, when tissue culture make a request for an issue that may happen up there, you're dealing in a very sensitive, a totally different environment than the normal farms or operation of anything.
Yes,
you know,
because
very
cleanliness,
sterile.
Cleanliness is very important.
Exactly.
In the plant
and
tissue
to
culture
keep
lab.
these tissue plants or these culture thing in a particular type environment where you monitor temperature, light, and that sort of thing. When we have a breakdown, it's so difficult to get these different things repaired. And people don't see that. You know, they want to go through this whole system of getting quotes and different things. If your air condition break down by the tissue culture lab, you can't go to the person and get 3 different quotes from 3 different people. You want the thing now, else thousands of plants will just die. You know? So how the division or the accounting units deal with these issues, these special needs for some of these divisions?
Well, now the accounting unit, now you have procurement, yeah?
In spite of the procurement, you have to understand the peculiarity
Correct.
of the situation, of the operation.
Correct. And we recently had an internal retreat where we discussed how do we treat with emergencies. Why should the secretary get a call that something isn't working from the general public, right? An officer should be the first one to report that and not the public. We have to remember that public service is not just the secretaries. The public, they are paying you as an officer. They are paying salaries, high wage bills for you to serve the public as well. So if you know something isn't working, don't just walk around it nonchalantly and say, okay, that doesn't work, right?
And it must stop.
Correct, right? You as the officer, you have to report that this isn't working. In terms of funding challenges,
and not just report that you don't work in a teacher. You have to say, well, listen, this is the approach to deal with it.
Correct.
You know, the officer or senior
How
person.
How do you treat with emergencies? It's something that baffles me, right? I have to get a text message or a phone call from the members of the public. So we are treating with it. You know, fixing this place will take some time. You have you have years of all sorts of, you know, what is accepted as normal. An emergency isn't something, you know, that you should rest and say, okay, I go bring it to the next heads a couple months. No. You must treat with it immediately. So changing the mindset first, yes. And of course, I know in some instances I had to wait on my equipment vote to get the money to get. I know that I have the funding challenges, yeah. But the challenge shouldn't be that somebody didn't report it.
Yes. And somebody, you know, it's really difficult sometimes. You know, you have a tractor pool, people paying so much for tractor pool, the service there.
Well,
1 year, 2 years.
We got over 300, we inherited over 300 backlog. And in the last 2 weeks ago, that backlog came down to 50. We just have 50 left. But the mind...
Who is verifying those data that we presented to you? the same tractor pool people, you know.
Well,
and sometimes that is compromised.
And
I
that
know
is-
sometimes that people name on a list and up to now they ain't called for
correct.
2 years
But-
and so on. And
but you know-
to get it done, you have to talk to the driver particularly.
Yeah, or
And that should
sometimes
not
they have to
be like
try and
that.
call people, yes, higher than that. And that's what I'm saying. I should not be, always the one to get the complaint first, right? There's a natural flow though. You have people verifying things now, especially the administrator. She's very responsible as well. And the technical
You had to be
officer.
fortunate.
Yes.
Tobago had to be fortunate that you
Yes.
have an administrator like Miss Louis in doing work in agriculture who understand people, systems, procedures,
Yes.
and getting things done in a particular
Correct.
manner.
So
You know,
she's
and-
there as well to do the verification
Mhm.
But of course, if you're a farmer in the 50, you cuss and say, I ain't get no service yet. So I understand that, yeah? But for those that would have gotten the service, yeah, we have cleared a hell of a lot within a short time. But
and
let's
you have
think.
about 4 tractors down up to the last time I checked.
Correct. And you know
And those
why?
are the new
Because
tractors,
you're
you know.
trying to finish the backlog. No, I'm telling you, you're trying to finish the backlog. And even though you're telling people, okay, we need to stop. Just like a human being, we would need to stop and breathe and get back, your balance. We have to service the equipment. And people get vexed when they hear you have to service the equipment. So I understand. But if you're into commercial farming, you should not be sitting back and saying, well, I'm waiting on tractor pool and I wonder when they will come. We have to drive the sector from in front if you're a commercial farmer. If you're a home gardener, you have time to wait. So that is why we're trying to provide additional support so that you see your enterprise as one that is, what we would call a private sector enterprise. Yeah? Yeah.
You know, I'm always thinking that one day, I'm looking forward to the day really, because there's some limitations to having tractor pool under the division, and I feel that it could be worked out some way in which could be partially placed under
Private.
some not really a private, but a farmers group, like the Farmers Association or something like that, and we will give them some funding just to maintain the tractors and supply all these things.
But
And
the
they themselves-
division's mandate is to the individual farmer. So if you put it under one association, not all farmers are in association.
No, you're putting it under a farmers association, not only to deal with members of the association.
Yeah.
That could be the
Well,
mandate.
and then
It's
how do
something
you
could be
prevent
looked
that?
at, seriously.
And then how you prevent, them focusing on just people in the association? If you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm. But the main thing I think we want to close, I hope we have about 5 minutes more or so, but you touched on it a little earlier, is the reforming of the division in a way to better serve the stakeholders, the farmers and the agri-processors and producers on the island. That need a serious reform. People have to work together. Every unit must have a way to deal with reporting, dealing with farmers' issues.
And accountability.
And
So just
accountability.
like how you are saying, put it on the Farmers Association. Why not introduce the technology to increase monitoring of the service? That makes it even more efficient. And even when you have claims, so you might have a natural disaster and it's declared a natural disaster, and you want to make a petition for some money for lost crops or livestock. How can we verify that information? Because the extension officer sign off on something, how we know it's not collusion? So you need to
But
introduce the technology.
I, as a former secretary, had that to deal with.
Right.
The same officers and them verifying untruth data and so on. We had
Yes,
a problem.
and-
You just have to know how you're dealing with it and have people verify the verification.
Well, and accountants, our head accountants would not do that because you could have collusion. But if you have the drones doing the drone mapping, or you have the electronic tagging of the animals, then you're better able to account. So an administrator would feel safe signing off on something, right, to give you what you're asking for. Rather than, you say, well, okay, somebody else check the site and they say, yes, that is what happened. No. You have to put the systems, the technology in place for monitoring and to increase accountability and to protect the administrators as well.
Yeah, and you have to, because there are times in that very division, the administrator come and they push things before administrator 4 o'clock in the evening to buy tires for tractor pool, and then other tires come for the vehicle. That happens.
So that's why
you know. So people have to be very supportive. Have some respect for the administrator and inform the administrator precisely what you're doing. Other division are the same problem, you know, pushing things before administrator 4 o'clock in the evening and so on to get illegal things done.
Yeah, and we
so
have
people
had
have
challenges.
to change this kind of attitude.
We have had challenges of things not being delivered to the stations,
and you still have to pay for it.
And it was paid for. So you have those sort of challenges. So you have to increase the systems. I did public health management of health systems, and it's sort of the same thing. You're putting systems in place so that it protects. Yes, you want what you want, but remember the administrators, they are the accountants. And if something goes wrong, who gets in the blame? It's the administrators. So you have to protect everybody. You get what you want, and the administrators get coverage.
I don't know if this girl, what's her name, boy? Celestine, Marva. Celestine, one of those fantastic persons. I don't know if she's still working there in the division.
She's still there.
And so a fantastic public servant to the core, to the core.
That's what I'm saying. You can't fake it to make
Paul
it
Crooks, I want to
in my division. Can't.
I'm telling you, Paul Crooks, fantastic, you know. Most of the vets operate there at a certain standard, you know. Some of them have all kind of issues and so on. Some of them can't reach by phone, you know, so you have a problem. But Paul Crooks and one or two other vets,
Dr. Carut and Dongs, they cannot fake it to make it. We have an excellent cadre of workers at the division. Some need a lot of empowerment because, as I said, with a mentality of I don't have any money for years, it's difficult to get them to think now that you can get the support if we go forward with a particular project. But yeah, I am quite satisfied with the efforts that we all have made.
Yeah, and we still have so much more to do, you know, and give people their job specification and treat people with greater compassion. You know, it doesn't take much, you know, to do better, you know, but it's just that people just fall back and according to you, the level of not accounting properly and so on. You know, we could make a conscious effort if we could do just that. We could get so much more done.
You know what is my dream now? That, you know, some of the development workers, because you see them in the space, we're not getting paid and all of these things. And mind you, we have to wait on money to pay, and the money comes from DP. So my division don't have any money for DP. I have inherited that, I would love them to come forward with a proposal of not just relying on that small wage, but something that they could meaningfully engage in to support the sector. And not necessarily, you know, it always coming from the head, right? I want people to start dreaming. And when I was a child, I dreamt about doing so many things. Yeah, you're telling me that, you know, you all don't have any dreams out there that you want to engage in. I don't, you know, to build. Come up with a proposal. Say, look, 10 of us want to do X, Y, Z. Why not?
Form yourself into a little group and demonstrate that you want to do or take the way you're doing to another level.
Agriculture, you could do so many things under agriculture. My God, I don't know how we do it. So I'm saying, you know, as development workers, come up with something that you can do and we will support it.
Yeah. You know, you people, you know, you plan a trip, you're going with some officer, going somewhere, you're waiting on them. They had to call you and tell you, well, I can't come again, I'm making breakfast for my father. And all kind of foolishness that people operate with, you know, we have to change that. And I have to pay tribute to my vet on the Plymouth side, what's her name? Bacchus. You know, exceptional. You call her, even she on maternity leave. She comes out, or she calling somebody and tell her, attend to Mr. McFarlane or something. You know, these are the kind of people that you have to pay tribute to. You know, your administrator, an extremely well-meant person, you know, in terms of approaching the thing with some professionalism and so on, showing compassion to her clients, so even on the clients, but the stakeholders and the farmers. You know, you yourself, you know, the way you operate, you know, is a breath of fresh air in the division. Over the years, I've seen different people, some, you know, have attitudes as secretaries, you know. But I mean, you're really a breath of fresh air, and I'm really happy about that. You know, we discuss things, we don't agree on everything, but at the same time, we could you know, we could understand
but
that
I'm quite easy to understand, you know, right? If you come at me with your own agenda, I would be a bit put off because I'm trained to embrace stakeholders, you know? So if you come with me with a dream and that dream is among stakeholders, right? No secret thing. I have a tendency to embrace you. So recently, the Fisher folk, we're trying to develop the bait industry. Yeah?
That's a big thing, you know.
That's a big thing. We'll be able to supply bait to all the pirogue fisher folk. And, you know, not only here, Trinidad, and even if you're into commercial fishing, we could do that the same.
You
just
know
like
that
in
there's
St.
in a big
Vincent.
way in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I think.
Correct. And
just
I
supplying bait, you know, I talking about it.
yeah, but you know, to set that up, 'cause I think it's about 21 anchors on the one that coming up the set net. Just to set that up, you know, in Tobago, you need a lot of hands, you need a lot of skill. And I was so happy to see the fishermen coming together. I said for the first time, I see not war but peace. And once you maintain that, we could pump money into the sector because I could see y'all getting from under the government and making money from building this industry and the other industries in terms of commercial fishing. And I mean, I am always excited, you know, in that room. So this is what excites me. I'm very simple to understand, you know. You could want something, but I am sure that many people in the space want the same thing as you. So how can you get it with the other people benefiting as well? It don't have to be the same thing, you know, but you're in the same group. So come to me with that sort of approach because you don't want to leave your brother behind. Remember, that is what we have as the tagline. Leave no one behind. Yeah? So I'm really simple.
And as you talk about fishing, you know, I was in University of Miami some time ago, and they were showing us their marine areas and what they're doing and so on. And a fairly simple thing, I would think, you know, they catch the mahi of different sizes, you know, they produce eggs at different sizes and so on. And they spawn them, have them spawn, and there's little fingerlings, they sell them by almost in millions. You know, and they send them to Argentina, was one of the big market, you know. As if you see, Natisha, just a little place like this.
You see, you're getting excited? That's how I get what I need in the fishing sector.
Yeah. You know, and they do all this operation and send thousands and thousands of fingerlings. They hatch them out, you know.
Correct.
And they separate them from the parent fish and so on. And just export them. Big business for this university.
You can't fake it in my division. It's either you have the skill or you don't have it. And if you don't have it, we train you. So you will have it.
Yeah. So we have to just look at, we have to break the glass ceiling and or dig further into the ground. Or as we say in the program, go beneath the surface. and get to some of these new ideas, talk to people with different initiatives and so on, who have other programs and other ideas. You could modify them, suit to your standards and your model. And so there's so much things to do in this sector. You know, one guy was telling me about, you know, boy, Jerry Walolo had to try and look at guinea pigs as a serious source of protein in Lima, Peru. That is what they do. That is their main, just like how we have chicken. Guinea pigs is the thing. Less maintenance and less worrisome than chicken and all this kind of thing. We have to look at maybe something like that in the future. We have to do as your division is named. Deal with sustainable development, particularly at this sector, whatever is required. We have to stand out. We don't want how much times we'll catch ourselves in a situation where feed can come to Tobago or something. We must be able to produce what we can, more than we eat on this island, and some for export.
And, you know, a lot of times we see agriculture as something separate to the other divisions. It isn't really, you know. Agriculture could be part of tourism as well. And it's a balance because while you get up on one end in terms of, I'll use cocoa for example, we could market the history of cocoa until we do all those specialty cuts that could bring back the fields into production. So I see so many opportunities coming from under agriculture that, you know, we could And well, it creates a level of excitement you displayed there when you talk about the fishing sector. When I hear about agriculture, think about any initiative under my division, I get excited because I don't only think about agriculture strictly. When you set up those mega farms, it could feed into Tari. When you set up those mega farms, you could have farm tours. People can come here. I know when I was in Scotland, one girl asked me to bring back a gecko for her because they don't have a lot of wildlife there. So if you could just sneak up a little gecko for me to see, you know, when people come to your island, they want to see what is unique to your island. And if we could capitalize on our natural resources to make some money, when those hundreds or thousands of tourists come off that boat, we could pass them through Hope Farm and pass them through Bleming and pass them through Kendall to show them what we do as a people. You know?
Especially in the agricultural sector. So it was happening before at Louisville demonstration station and at Louisville station. It was happening before. That was a critical tourist stop.
But we had to get it
now
back
the place
to that.
closing down 10 o'clock in the morning.
We had to get it back to that.
Yes.
And that is why I said let the workers come with a proposal. We don't have to make up everything at the office. Come with a proposal. Bring yourself together. It don't have to be the division alone. It could be tourism workers. Come with a proposal that you think could be sustainable, and we will support it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, Secretary, I really want to thank you for coming.
Yes.
This has been one of my most interactive and so on. And we're working on that proposal to look at Hope Farm as a major livestock sustainable project.
Yes. So we set up the mega farming committee already, and we're setting up the framework for which things should work within, because you know, as sustainable development, you want to include things like rainwater harvesting and solar. So you know, so we're setting up the framework so that people understand. Yeah.
And opportunity.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Secretary, and we continue to work and be close on all these other initiatives and see where opportunities exist, not just for farmers, but the division and a greater role for the division in providing not just support, but empathy and direction and guidance and professional advice to the sector. Thanks again for coming. Keep up the good work, and say a special hello for me to your administrator in the division.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was really lovely. Okay, folks, this brings us to the end of this program today. And of course, tomorrow we have another member of the Tobago House of Assembly who will be here with us. And we continue with this series, Beneath the Surface, understand what's happening beneath and above the surface too, and get to understand some of these secretaries and members of the Tobago House of Assembly. See you tomorrow, God's willing. Have a lovely day today.
Tobago updates.